Some people think that an office party means they can drink to excess as long as they Uber home. That is darkness. Some people think that all the money they earn is theirs to spend on anything they want without giving any consideration to, first of all, setting aside thankfully to the Lord Jesus. That is darkness. Some work really hard and strive to be successful, but in the process end up pushing others down or aside. That is darkness. Some think that looking at dirty pictures is a private matter, that it doesn't harm a relationship and hurts no one. That's darkness. Some people think that allowing their kids more than 2 hours of screen time a day will not affect their ability to process feelings and relate to others. That is darkness. Some people think that all religions are the same and end up in the same goal. That is darkness. Some know that they're not perfect, that they are sinners, but they believe that they're not as bad as all the people I just described. That is darkness. The Bible says, "See, darkness covers the earth, and thick darkness is over the people," meaning all the people. Darkness over me and over you. What are we to do about that? Throw up our hands in frustration, vent our frustrations, and then just go about our business as usual? Hunker down and hide behind closed doors and hope that Jesus will come very soon in glory? In today's gospel account from Matthew 5, which you heard read from the lectern, Jesus tells us that he's done something about the darkness inside of my heart and in yours, and then tells us that we can do something about darkness all around us. He calls out, "Let your light shine." The Pharisees meant well. They were members and active in their local congregations, and they were concerned about beggars, traitorous tax collectors, prostitutes, gamblers, petty thieves, farmers who cheat on taxes, uneducated, indecent shepherds, families falling apart, kids imitating all that's evil and wicked about the current culture. They were concerned about only older folks scattered in the pews for worship and nobody else going to church because they're just too busy, or at least only showing up a couple of times a year for festivals. The Pharisees looked around and they saw greed, humanism, materialism, every man or woman for himself or herself. Something had to be done. So they dug into their Old Testament scriptures and determined that the way in which they could fix the problems that they saw all around would be to get people to buy into a stricter guideline of behaviors. And soon they were swimming in rules and regulations. Of course, not many Israelites bought in, but that didn't prevent the Pharisees from setting themselves apart as better and more pure than all the other unwashed masses, because they at least tried to keep all the rules. Follow us if you want to be enlightened. They spent their every day trying to get people to comply and shoveling piles of guilt on people's shoulders. If you want to be enlightened, follow us. But everybody knew that the Pharisees were holy rollers, holy Joes. Better than thou snobby religious fanatics. Nobody wanted to live up to their standards. Nobody could. And yet Jesus said, "Unless your righteousness surpasses that of the Pharisees and the teachers of the law, you will certainly not enter the kingdom of heaven." His followers were hoping that they would get some relief from Jesus, from the nagging and the pressure of the Pharisees. But now Jesus is saying that God's standards are higher. In fact, God's standards go off the charts. Jesus went on to say, "Truly I tell you, until heaven and earth disappear, and not the smallest letter, not the least stroke of a pen will by any means disappear from the law until everything is accomplished. Therefore, anyone who sets aside one of the least of these commands and teaches others accordingly will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever practices and teaches these commands will be called great in the kingdom of heaven." His followers knew what he meant. If they couldn't live up to the standards of the Pharisees, how in the world could they live up to God's standards? I don't know about you, but every once in a while I feel like I have to quarrel with the Lord when he says, "Be holy, for I, the Lord your God, am holy." Oh, come on, Lord. You got to be kidding me. You know that's impossible. Don't you have a moment once in a while when your eyebrow goes up if God says that demand to be holy? Do you mean to tell us, Lord, that if we keep all of your regulations, except maybe just one little thing, like some harmless, probably even well-intended white lie, that even then we are liable to being dumped into eternal darkness? Do you mean to say, Lord, that if we keep all of your rules and break just one little one of them, that we can't get into your light? And Jesus answers, that's exactly what I mean. 99.9% is not good enough. Come to think of it, in many cases, 99.9% is not good enough for us. If 99.9% is good enough, then 2 plane landings per day at O'Hare would be unsafe. Then 12 babies each day would be given to the wrong parents. Then 291 pacemaker operations each year would be performed incorrectly. Then 22,000 bank withdrawals would be drawn from the wrong account in the next 60 minutes. Then 103,260 tax returns will be processed incorrectly this year. Then 2,488,200 books will be shipped in the next 12 months with the wrong cover. Then 5,517,200 cases of soft drinks will be produced in the next 12 months, flatter than a bad tire. 99.9% isn't even good enough for us. And it certainly isn't good enough for God. If we think that we've lived up to God's standard of perfection, we have just stepped into darkness. Anything short of perfection is sin, darkness, lights out. But then Jesus said, "Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them." Jesus did not come into the world to set a great example so we know how to do it right. No, he came to do what we couldn't. The Bible clearly says God made Jesus, who had no sin, to be sinful in our place, so that connected to him we might be able to stand right when we are before God. Do you understand that? Your pastors pray that you do, because it's the best news you're ever going to hear. Jesus didn't come into the world to set a good example. No, he came to do what we couldn't. He came to fulfill and match up to all of God's standards, his actual highest, unbelievably high standard of being perfect. He didn't come to abolish God's rules and regulations. He came to fulfill them, and he did. And here's the miracle message of Holy Writ. God now considers what Jesus did, his rightness, to be ours. That's how Jesus is the light of the world. The gospel writer John says that in him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind, and the light shines in the darkness. Jesus is the light source. That means no matter where you go, no matter where you are, no matter where we go, no matter where we are, God is scattering the darkness of our life and sin with the light of Jesus' love. And that happens whether it snows or not, whether the temperature pummels below zero or not, whether our friends are fickle or not, whether our income covers our expenses or not. Jesus' light scatters the darkness, even if we slip and do something we promised ourselves we'd never do again. He shines the light of his forgiving love into your heart and mine. And that's why we can sing. Even though we were born with no light, we had no inherent light on our own, we can sing with the Bible writer, "My God turns my darkness into light. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? Lord, in your light we see light." And we just get tickled with excitement and joy to hear the prophet announce, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord shines upon you. The sun will no more be your light by day, nor will the brightness of the moon shine upon you. For the Lord will be your everlasting light. Your God will be your glory." Jesus, the light source, is ours. So who am I, and why am I here? And where am I going? A search for answers to those questions without a message from God will lead to emptiness and darkness. But God has spoken. He pulled back the curtain and flipped on the spotlight. Jesus, the light source, is shining on us. And Jesus, the light source, not only that, he turns us into lights, reflecting his light, so desperately needed in our life and in our world, to get across the power and the purpose of this light shining on us and through us. Jesus was not afraid to flip the metaphor. For the kids sitting back there, that means he changed the picture. Check this out. You are the salt of the earth. And if the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. The point, salt is good. And good for something. In those days, salt was used not just for flavoring, but also as a preservative. If you've got a pile of white sand in your hand, it will not work for flavoring or preserving food. It has no purpose. Dump it. But if you've got a little pile of sand in your hand, it works. It flavors, it preserves, it is good. You are salt. You have a purpose. And Jesus flips back to the light picture. An LED light won't shine by itself. It has to be connected and turned on so that the electric current generated from a power source can be transmitted to it and through it. When we are connected to Jesus, we are lights on for others. And no need to have any false modesty. Oh, I can't talk about spiritual matters with my friends or relatives because they will be turned off. Well, just remember, it's not your own light that you're shining, but his. Kind of takes the pressure off, doesn't it? We don't have to be spiritual luminaries or theological stars. We are already lights on. Everywhere we go, everywhere we walk, everywhere we sit, everywhere we are. We are lights on for others, energized by Jesus. The light source we join with the apostles, we can't help speaking about what we have seen and heard. And the Lord Jesus, you are the light of the world. You are. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand. It gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. Let your light shine. I'd be willing to bet, I'm not a betting man, but I'd be willing to bet that you know people who are walking around right now in spiritual darkness. They may not even realize it, just cruising along through life, happy as clams, everything's just fine, even without God in their life. Thank you very much. But just wait. Our great God works in very unique ways. He just might allow those folks that you know walking around in spiritual darkness, he might just allow them to experience some loneliness, some emptiness, some sense of darkness in their life, and then they will be awfully glad that they will have met you. Let your light shine. Amen. And please stand.